Well, folks, it finally happens. Or happening. I'm not sure how to look at it. They are trying to take out RFK Jr. It's sad, but unsurprising. It was clear from the moment that they denied him Secret Service protection, despite the history that men in his family have with running for president and being assassinated. The most recent presidential assassination in U.S. history was his uncle. His father was assassinated while running for president. And then we've had at least one assassination attempt since then. I don't think there have been any successful assassination attempts against a presidential candidate since RFK Jr. There might be one I'm missing, but I mean, George Wallace lived, and that was the last one I can think of. There was an assassination attempt against Lee Zeldin in this past election in 2022, but he was running for governor of New York. And no, I don't count what the Secret Service calls like a threat on the life of the president, like a boomer Fed posting on Facebook. That's not a threat to the president's life. I'm talking about someone with a weapon getting up close to the candidate or to the president and basically getting a shot and missing. Now, this guy who got up to RFK Jr., he was not able to get a shot off, thankfully. So there wasn't a chance that he hit anybody because they stopped him before he was able to draw his gun. And he was apparently posing as like a Fed, which as soon as you look at him, it's obvious he's not a Fed. He's got tats. And also the sunglasses were wrong. I think he was wearing Oakleys or something. I mean, he kind of looked like Smash Mouth, God rest his soul. Remember with Lee Zeldin, I believe, the guy who had a knife got up on stage and somebody tackled him before he was able to get to Lee. But this guy who went after RFK, now who knows? It could since he didn't get a chance, or he had a chance. He did not go through with an attempt on RFK's life, so we don't know. Maybe he's just a crazy guy who was impersonating an FBI agent. Maybe his intention was actually like to protect RFK Jr. maybe, and he was just going to tell people, "Oh, I'm with the FBI. I'm here to protect him." He could have just been a crazy guy who thought that was a good idea, and was very misguided. But he showed up, and he was close to the candidate, and he was he had at least one gun on him. I'm not sure how much ammo he had with him, but standard, you would assume probably had a pistol and like a couple extra mags or something, but certainly enough to assassinate a candidate. And even if this guy, let's say that he's just crazy and he had meant no harm, okay, he did something stupid, maybe he's a little slow or something, didn't realize what people would think if you just show up impersonating an FBI agent and carrying a gun, trying to get up close to a presidential candidate. Even if this guy meant no harm, you want to assume as much in his favor. The fact that anyone could do this, that doesn't mean that the next person who gets up close to RFK Jr. Won't be the guy who wants to kill him. Think of all the people who think that RFK Jr., if elected, is going to turn this country over to Vladimir Putin, who think that RFK Jr. is a traitor to America. The hatred is not as strong, but the people who do, as far as in terms of the percentage of the population, but the people who hate RFK Jr. hate him just as much as they hate Trump. It's that same intensity. And imagine if Trump had no Secret Service protection. Someone, in their mind, rationally, would be willing to sacrifice themselves and their freedom by assassinating Trump to stop him from betraying this country and handing us over to Vladimir Putin. In their mind, they would be justified. But luckily, Trump has Secret Service protection. Before that, he had personal bodyguards. He's always had, a private security detail, to my knowledge, going back for probably decades at this point. but long before he ran for president. RFK Jr., on the other hand, he's not made of money. He's a rich guy, I would assume, although I believe financially he's cut off from the rest of his family, but I think he's done well for himself on his own. He's a successful attorney from what I understand. And so I'm sure he has a decent amount of security. Hopefully the campaign, I'm sure that's a legitimate campaign expense, private security as well. Of course, his campaign is not the most well-funded in the world. You know, he doesn't have a war chest of hundreds of millions of lobbyist dollars. But this is why presidential candidates are granted Secret Service protection. Because as a country, we have, made a decision in the past not to force our potential leaders to choose between funding their campaign and maintaining their own safety. There is a deal that is struck. It's not in the Constitution or anything, but there has been a precedent for a long time that the Secret Service will protect people who are trying to become the next president, who might be the next president, to ensure that the people of America have a chance to make that choice as to whether or not they want to select this person. Because if you are the president, everyone understands you've got a target painted on your back. That's why we have the Secret Service. So it only stands to reason that someone who has the potential to become the president has a smaller, but nevertheless the same target painted on their back. People would want to assassinate a presidential candidate for the same reasons that they would want to assassinate that person as president. As far as the assassins are concerned, if you stop them before they become president, well, then they're minimizing the damage. And so, if anything, they have more incentive. And so, considering how public it's been, the debate over RFK's lack of Secret Service protection, everyone knows that he has no Secret Service protection. Right now, people who want RFK Jr. dead and think that he would be a very bad president and that they're willing to sacrifice their lives by, either, by being sentenced to life in prison for killing, presidential candidates. These people, this is their chance to martyr themselves and to do a great public service in their view. And so even though this event did not end in disaster, they were able to apprehend him, who's to say that this will be the last time? No one is. And so this just underscores the need for his request to be fulfilled, and hopefully it will be. But if the Biden administration hasn't relented so far, why would they? They're clearly singling RFK Jr. out. They want to force him out of the race. They want him to feel unsafe. They want him to fear for his life and his family because they don't think that he has the right to run against President Biden. It's one thing for Republicans to run against the sitting Democrat president. Everyone understands that's always going to happen. Parties, the opposition party has to put up a candidate against the incumbent. But for someone to challenge the incumbent from within his own party, that is seen as an absolutely forbidden taboo. And so that's clearly what this is about. Everyone with eyes to see and ears to hear knows this. And you know what? What if RFK decides to drop out of the Democratic primary and run as an independent? And he is around for the entirety of the campaign. Are they going to deny him Secret Service protection for that entire period? I would only assume so. It would seem to be the case. And if he runs as an independent, I think that there would be even a bigger target on his back, because then you'll have people, Democratic voters who see him as a spoiler and think that his very candidacy is a threat to the continued existence of our so-called democracy. Because you see, if a third-party candidate was able to siphon off enough votes from Biden then that would mean that the Orange Man would win and he would hand the country over to Vladimir Putin. It's not very hard to wargame these things out in your head. There's, 350 million people in this country? And a lot of them think that way. Not a majority, not even a plurality, but a certain percentage. And any percentage of 350 million is an army. And so I'm not saying that the FBI should go out there and hunt down every single person who thinks that RFK is a traitor to this country and, lock them up like they're a January 6er or something. No, all I'm saying is, given that these people exist and there's a chance that they could activate at any moment, you should provide them with some basic security. Unless their goal isn't merely to intimidate RFK and get him to drop out of the race and lose. Perhaps they really would just like to see him offed. I mean, that's not crazy. These are not good people. They don't value human life. And, as far as they're concerned, if he's not getting on board the Biden train, he may as well get run over. So, with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.